Welcome to part 3 of Caring for Your Digestion and Weight, a workshop on Ayurveda and essential oils. If you haven't subscribed and you enjoy these videos, please subscribe so you're notified when new installments are ready to view. In this video, we'll be talking about how to eat for your dosha. So the best way to know specifically what is best for you is to have a one-on-one assessment. And if you're having digestive issues or struggling particularly, I really suggest that we sit down together and look at what would be a good plan for you. But if you already know your dosha, you'll recognize yourself here. And even if you don't, I'm going to go through a few telltale ways you might be able to recognize yourself and make some tweaks to your diet and lifestyle and just see how that shakes out. So I'm sharing my screen. We're going to start with Vata dosha. And so Vata dosha, you might be Vata dosha if you run cold and dry. So Vata tends to feel most uncomfortable in cold and windy weather. Vata individuals are creative and adaptable. They are easily distracted and can become anxious when out of balance. Physically and digestively, they can be prone to constipation. So if that sounds like you, either recently or sort of in general in life, you'll want to kind of stay away from raw, dry, crunchy food. All of that is too drying for your constitution. So popcorn, raw veggies and salads are all too cold for you. So cook all of your food. And cook with sesame oil in particular and warming spices like cumin and ginger. You really need your food to be cooked and warm and a little on the heavier side. So also easy on cruciferous veggies like broccoli and cabbages, and also bitters. When you eat those, eat them in small quantities, make sure they're well cooked, and add oils. The other thing that Vata really needs to stay away from as much as possible is caffeine. Caffeine is ungrounding, which I think we talked about in the last video. So the major thing for Vata is routine. It's that 3 meals a day. It's to stay grounded. It's to have a container from which to be creative and adaptable. Okay, so Pitta. Pitta runs more hot and inflames easily. So Pitta individuals tend to feel more uncomfortable in hot and especially humid weather. Pittas are organized and driven. They can be easily irritated or think about the inflamed feelings and emotion. Pittas can become stressed when they're out of balance and then physically are prone more to diarrhea and rashes. So for Pitta, and this really applies to all of us in different seasons too. So Pitta season is summer. So we all might have a little bit of Pitta imbalance in the summer. So whether you're a Pitta person or you're in a Pitta season, think about eating more cooling foods like coconut, cilantro. Some raw veggies can be good in the summer for Pitta. Think about cucumbers. When you're cooking, cook with ghee. Ghee is a lighter, is a more cooling oil, ghee or coconut oil, cooling spices like coriander and fennel, and then easy on spicy food, of course, and an alcohol for Pitta. And then the main thing for Pitta is to slow down, just to slow down, to do less, to be in nature, and have that appreciation and that gratitude. So for Kapha, if you are a Kapha person, you might run more cool and moist or oily and feel generally maybe more uncomfortable in the spring when it's rainy, cool, and damp. Kaphas are loyal and dependable. They're steady, solid, and loving people. Because of that steadiness and that solidness, they can be slow to change. They can become lethargic, physically prone to congestion, and can have just naturally a heavier build. So if you have a Kapha constitution, it's important to avoid overeating. So you're someone who could do okay with skipping dinner every once in a while. Cooking with stimulating spices, sort of the opposite of Pitta, that you can handle more ginger, black pepper, things that are stimulating to the system, but taking it easy on dairy and sweets, which are just too heavy. And then finally for Kapha, the main thing for Kapha, which is the opposite of Vata, would be to create more variety in your life. And that doesn't mean to take yourself out of a of a routine of eating, but just to introduce more of a variety of foods or to try new things in your life. So you might recognize yourself, and then seasonally, of course, as I mentioned, we all have to, to some extent, reckon with these qualities and change our diet and lifestyle a bit to balance what's going on in our environment and therefore in our bodies. So I want to talk about different types of weight gain. So it doesn't matter, not all types of weight gain are kapha. When we think about the qualities of kapha, it can be easy to assume that all weight gain is a result of excessive kapha, but that's not always the case. So let's take a look at a couple of differences. So a kapha weight gain looks like more of a lifelong issue with weight. You might have been, it's been with you most of your life. And it will accompany a feeling of sluggishness, of craving sweets, cold, heavy food. So if that's what's going on, to find balance, you'll want to eat more warm, cooked foods, but light foods, lighter, like zucchini, asparagus, having cooked apples for breakfast as opposed to a heavier oatmeal, lunch as the main meal, things like blended soups, quinoa, barley, and veggies, committing to no sweets and no snacking. So an empty belly between meals is really important, and a lighter dinner. So just in general, with this type of weight gain, eating lighter and more stimulating. So in terms of kapha practices, kapha soothing practices in the morning, like dry brushing, tongue scraping, active movement, Kapalabhati breath, all of these things that get things moving in your body, getting up early. So in terms of exercise, morning exercise before breakfast is the best time of day for everyone, but especially if you want to lose weight. The morning is a time of day that's ruled by kapha, which means that we can easily feel sluggish, particularly if we have a kapha imbalance. So exercising can help you to overcome that kapha tendency and get your day going. On the flip side, you can use kapha, that steadiness that we know kapha is good at, to get the most bang for your buck out of exercising in the morning, because kapha will help you to build healthy muscle and to create routine. But you do need to sweat and generate heat. So things like swimming, biking, dancing, if your goal is weight loss. And I'm not talking about crazy kick your own butt exercise, right? It's just a glistening sweat, and only for about 30 minutes. So with kapha too, having just a loving your body practice, right? Exercise isn't meant to punish you. But taking time to explore your limiting thoughts and feelings around worthiness. And maybe at the end of the day, asking yourself the question, how did I wow myself today? Really thinking about how you can develop that sense of worthiness. So if your weight gain is driven more by Vata, which can be the case, we think of Vata as being a light and small build, but Vata can also push onto other constitutions. So if the weight gain is driven by Kapha, but you think it's Kapha and you end up eating light and overstimulating yourself, you can further throw that Vata out of balance. So Vata can actually be the cause. If normally you're not a person who carries weight, if the weight gain is accompanied by a feeling of constipation or gassiness or anxiety, your body can, any of those things can cause your body to hold on to weight. So to find balance, you will also want to eat more warm, cooked foods, but oilier, heavier foods are actually good. So ghee, sesame oil, root veggies. Again, avoiding caffeine, crunchy, dry snacks. Crackers and salad are not going to be your friend. So creating for yourself a loving ritual around eating, a routine, relishing your food and nature, sensuality for you, having a self-care practice that's sensual. So your sleep schedule is important. And then dealing with what beliefs do you have around release, around scarcity? So your digestive system relaxes when it knows it will be nourished regularly. So soften, warm, and lubricate to see if kapha moves. And when your digestion is better, your weight may begin to drop. Excuse me. So digestive aids, because we are human, and sometimes we just want pizza, as I keep talking about, or it's someone's birthday, it's not about deprivation, but those choices can cause ama, or toxins. and or just weaken your Agni, that digestive fire. So it's not a perfect world, and it is a sensory world, and it's meant to be enjoyed in moderation. So what can we do to balance these choices? So the first thing is warm water. So starting the day with a glass of warm water to soften the colon, occasionally with lemon or lime. You can add a little bit of ghee to your water later in the day, to warm water if you're constipated. But warm water is going to keep everything moving and soft. Ginger pickle is actually one of my favorite things to do, and I should do a video just on how to make ginger pickle. But this is a little kind of aperitif you could have before you have a meal. So it's just on a spoon, to your own taste and proportion, chopped up little like diced ginger, fresh ginger, some honey, preferably local honey, raw honey, with a sprinkle of sea salt and lime juice. Those four things together, and you can think about those tastes that we talked about. That encompasses most of the tastes. Really stimulates your digestion. It's delicious too. So ginger pickle. Having a cooked apple first thing in the morning. This is particularly good if you're not someone who tends to be very hungry in the morning. A cooked apple will stimulate your digestion, will stimulate your hunger. You can even have it as a pre-breakfast, to have it first, and then an hour later, when you really feel you're actually hungry, have breakfast. Chewing fennel and cumin seeds after a meal helps to keep your digestion moving swimmingly. Triphala is an herb, or it's actually a combination of herbs that help with digestion and can help with constipation. Of course, the food combinations that we talked about earlier. And then finally, the 70-30 rule, which is one of the favorite things that I've learned in Ayurveda. So it's so easy with all of these things I'm talking about to feel like they're rules, that you have to do them all the time. But in reality, if you are relatively in balance and healthy, if you can look back on a week of goals that you had for yourself, or these rules, if you can look back and 70% of the time, 4 or 5 out of the days you did these things, you're really doing fine and you're able to maintain balance. So just remembering that we don't have to do this as an austerity. Ayurveda lifestyle as an austerity is not balance, right? So we all have a natural healthy weight that's unique to us. Accumulation of weight can signify ama or toxins, and underweight can indicate undernourishment, which could also be an issue. So care for your agni, care for your digestive system, for your digestive fire, because having strong digestive fire processes nutrients efficiently, and then helps get rid of that ama. So I'm going to wrap up today's video here. Make sure to come back for ways essential oils can support these practices, and to learn about what Ayurveda says about your beliefs concerning your body. See you next time.